Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Money and Mindset podcast. I am your host, Sheryka Alford, here with
Anntricia Bray Smith.
we are here to provide you with motivation to get out of debt, build wealth, and transform your outlook towards life. Today, we're going to talk about creating your financial plan. Creating your financial plan. I know that in previous episodes, in episode 7, we were joined by the CEO of the Lane Financial Group, Faith Lane. And also in episode 16, we were joined with financial educator Parthenia Walker. Um, she was talking about financial literacy. And in both of those episodes, they really hit home on creating a financial plan. But today we're going to look at some things that you can do to prepare to create your financial plan even before you go see a professional. So some practical steps that you can take starting now. How's it going, Anntricia?
Woo, child. yeah, this financial stuff is really messing with my mindset, okay?
But it's
yeah,
all good stuff,
it's all
though.
good stuff. It's all good stuff. And guys, we know that with the way things have occurred in our world over the past months, we know that finances sometimes is one of the last things we want to hear about. We see now in the news people are struggling to stay in their houses, keeping a roof over their heads, struggling to make ends meet, as if we didn't already have those issues prior to what we're dealing with. But now it seems like, the reality is really beginning to set in. And not being able to find that relief and those resources that we need, guys. It's now more than ever. If we haven't already thought about creating a financial plan, this is something that we really need to hone in on and really get a understanding of what a efficient or what
Right.
what a financial plan that works for you is really going to look like. Not to say that we're going to just overcome all these debts and be financially free and uh, be wealthy overnight, but that we begin to shift the habits that we have as it relates to our finances and begin to change the direction to minimize the impact in which we are now headed.
Yes, so true, so true. And if you're joining us today, first of all, I want to say congratulations. You need to pat yourself on the back for taking the necessary steps towards improving your financial situation because, like Anntricia said, it's not going to happen overnight. Face it, I know I didn't get into my predicament overnight as far as, with the inherited student loan debt and, car payments having to be made and cars paid off. All of it didn't just happen overnight. So it's, I don't expect to clean it up overnight either. But we just want to go through some things that you can do starting now to prep for setting up your individualized financial plan. And first off, I would say, whenever you make up your mind to actually do this, schedule time and space where you can be alone uninterrupted, because it's not something that you want to start knowing that you only have 30 minutes to address, because I'll be quite honest with you, it can be quite a daunting task, but it is well worth it if you go through the steps, trust me. So set aside a time, put it on your calendar, put signs on your door, let people know, hey, I'm busy, don't disturb. Do not disturb. Make sure the kids are fed and whomever else, let them know you need to set aside this time to start setting up your financial plan. Grab your materials, whether it be a pen and notebook, your laptop or computer, or even your cell phone memo. Basically, you just want to have something that you can take notes on and that's going to be easy for you to keep up with.
Yeah, so
Now,
this is what?
I was just going to say, say this is something that takes is some pre-homework too, because you'll also need copies of your credit report. And we've mentioned before that you can get copies of your free credit report from the annualcreditreport.com. So that's a start of part of the materials you'll need to set up your plan, in addition to previous bank statements, whether it be the last past 3 to 6 months, just some way for you to look back and tell what type of spending you've been doing. And if you use credit cards, credit card statements are good. Have copies of your credit card statements and any existing budgets or spending plans if you have that created already. So those are the materials. Now, what we're talking about a deep dive into creating your financial plan, because and I think in all the previous episodes we've mentioned create a plan, have a plan, but we have never gone into the specifics. And this is, this is the specifics. This is the meat. Go ahead, Ann. I see you smoke coming out your ears. What's going on?
Girl, uh, for real, yeah. Um, hey, I'm new to this. I'm new to this financial. I can't say it enough, guys. I am working on my plan in real time, real life, and it's no joke. But I can say that um, if I were going to give you a tip on creating your financial plan, uh, the number one tip that I would give you for creating a plan of your own is to assess, evaluate, and rethink your financial spending habits. That is hands down my number one tip. If you're going to get serious about this thing, it starts right here. What are
Mm-hmm.
your spending habits? Because I can guarantee your habits, if you're not aware of it, it's going to negatively impact any progress you're going to try to make down the road. So that's
Correct.
number one. The spending habits must be assessed, evaluated, and revisited. And there's no way around it. So when I think about
Right.
my spending habits, you know, January of 2020, going into January 2020, that's when I really got serious about my financial future. And so even though I had already began to set up things and have it in place in later part of 2019, January 2020, I really implemented a plan and do what I am encouraging you to do, and that's assessing and evaluating, really identifying what your spending habits look like. Because once you begin to
Yes.
make progress and you get real excited and on that positive
Yay.
side of emotions, when you're making gains financially, if you don't change your habits, if you're not aware of what those habits are, you're going to fall right back into it. And this is where I see a lot of people get stuck. They get stuck right here on number one. They're not aware of their habits, or they don't develop enough
Mm-hmm.
ground up under them to sustain once they begin to make progress and get a couple bills paid off or get the debts down a little bit. They get so excited that emotionally they begin to spend because now they see some fruit. And so they use that fruit because the mindset hasn't shifted yet, and they go back right back into old spending habits. So this is a good place to start,
Right.
guys. Good place to start.
Right. And some of those habits may include things like, say, if you routinely carry a balance on a high interest rate credit card. And I don't mean a situation where, say, you use your credit card and you're paying it off in full each month when you get the bill, but if you're continually carrying balances over to the following month and having to pay, what you owe plus interest, then that's one habit that, we would need to work on, because it is hazardous to your financial health. Also, another one, just kind of riding by the skin of our teeth and not thinking about putting money back for savings for emergencies. We get excited we get our income tax check, or a stimulus check, or whatever, any kind of unexpected bonus, and we kind of forget, hey, I might want to put a little something back. You always want to pay yourself first. That helps prevent you from getting into trouble later. Also, retirement investing. If you're listening and you're in your 20s, I'm talking to you too. I know right now you say retirement, I'm in my 20s. Well, trust me, the sooner you start investing, the less percentage, the less you have to invest, and you'll still gain more because of the time that you have on your side. So use that benefit of, the time that you have in your youth, because you'll wake up and you'll be 40 plus with a couple of teenagers. Trust me.
Couple of
So
grown
yes,
women.
yes. So definitely, yes, keep an eye on those habits and those behaviors. And I'm going to say this, and if you're anything like my sister Anntricia Marie Bray over there, I'm sorry, Anntricia Bray Smith, you're probably going to roll your eyes, but write down your goals. Write them down. She informed you, hey, we have to assess our behaviors and habits. That's where we are now. But let's write down the things and the destination of where we want to be. Write down your goals so that you can keep in front of you where you're aiming to go. So when you do get the unexpected windfall of money, bonus, whatever the case may be, you'll have a reminder of how it would, how it better serve you. What do you have to say, Anntricia? You say you're not
Ain't
going to write down your
right
goals.
nothing. I'm gonna keep it here on the forefront, but it takes a little extra effort to do this, to leave this right here. Yeah. So, nonetheless, guys, tip
You
number
know, you
one.
don't no, with technology, you can talk to your computer.
Well, I'm gonna talk to it. I'm gonna talk to it, but it ain't gonna be like you think. Yeah. Uh, tip number one: assess your spending habits. Let's look at it.
And
And
number
let's
2, write down your goals.
number two, write down your goals. She done told you, write it down. I'm gonna skip over number two. I'm gonna just jump. I'm gonna do a leap
Oh,
over number
okay.
two. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna leap right over it.
Okay. Well,
No,
let's move
it
on.
makes sense. Makes
One
sense. But hey, I documented in my books. My books talk all about all of it. It talks about that. So I'm good. I'm good.
Okay.
So it's
Okay.
documented somewhere. It just ain't on this paper. Nonetheless, guys,
Okay.
um, another tip that I can give you for creating your financial plan is to begin to plant money somewhere. You want to plant money on good soil. Anything that's not planted cannot reproduce. And so
Mhm.
think about that. Anything that is not planted cannot reproduce. No different than your money. If you don't plant good things in your mind, you're not going to produce good thoughts.
True.
With your money, if you're not planting it in good soil, you're not going to reproduce anything. What you have is what you have, and when it's gone, it's gone. But when you think about planting, I'm talking about the IRAs, I'm talking about stock market, I'm talking about investments of some sort. This is what planning is. And if your money is going to reproduce, it has to be put in a place to where it can grow and multiply.
So true.
You don't want to
So
have to
true.
work for every dollar you get. You ought to be able to make that money work for you. This is where your wealth and your
Mhm.
uh, revenue begins to really show up. Having that passive stream of income, multiple streams of income, you know, that it's planted somewhere to where it's able to reproduce.
Yes, that is so true. Even now, that multiple stream of income, it's right up there with pretty much having an emergency fund. It's important. And that's an understatement. And while you're doing that, and this is something you don't hear discussed a lot, but calculate your net worth. This is a way to help you see where you are, and to also help you track your improvement by calculating your net worth. On the proactiveplanner.com blog, I have an article entitled "Three Important Reasons to Track Your Net Worth." I'll include a link to that in the show notes, but check that out. Your net worth, for those who may not be aware, it's where you take your assets minus your liabilities, and that's how you get your net worth.
Ooh, I'm
Uh,
in the hole.
well, and that's okay. Most, that is okay. That is okay, because when I first started tracking my net worth, I was negative
Wee.
some numbers, some lot of numbers. But
Yes.
as time went on, and I was like, oh, okay, it's getting better. But assets, meaning assets are things of monetary value that you own, and the liabilities are debts that you owe. And so, for example, an asset could be like Ann was mentioning earlier about the investments. Like if you have some investments, like I don't know, 401k, 403b, what your investments. If you have a house, if you own the house, the value of your house, that would be an asset. But if you're still making payments, say, to the mortgage company, then you'll put what you still owe remaining on the liability side. But you just take all your assets and list those out. And then you list out all your debts, and then you subtract your liabilities from your assets, and that will get you to your net worth. Now, like I said, when I first started doing this, let me just say, I had a credit score of over 800, and I had a negative net worth, if that says anything. So, like we mentioned in previous episodes, credit scores are more so for the lenders in their favor, but your net worth, that shows you things that are beneficial for you as the consumer. Go ahead, Ann. You look like you got something to
So
say.
no, it just goes back to what we were talking about previously, to that debt to income ratio,
Mm-hmm.
as it impacts our credit score, and it does,
Mm-hmm.
uh, because even with good credit, when your debt to income ratio is off balance, you're still not
Mm-hmm.
going to get the interest rates and the loans and the amounts and stuff that you need when you go to get it, because it is so high and it impacts the decisions made on your behalf. So yeah, so that was good information. I'm glad that you mentioned that. So another tip for creating your financial plan, it is an absolute must that your mindset begins to shift. And how you do that, you can do all these steps and you can still have the same old poverty mindset. You must be intentional in working
Okay.
on your mindset, coming out of that mediocre thinking, coming out of those mediocre environments. Stop thinking with that consumer mindset. You have to begin to shift to a producer mindset, a wealth mindset, a mindset that um, knows how to think creatively and get out there and generate revenue. And you do that. You begin to shift the mindset. I just told you what to do. Now I'm going to tell you how to do it. And you do that, number one, by reading. It's important
Ah.
that you read. I cannot stress it enough. And guys, I know you've heard me here joking several times that I ain't read nothing, and in a sense that's true. But on the flip side of that, technology has made it so convenient and so easy to absorb all that knowledge through audiobooks, through podcasts, through different versions of being able to listen to things, audios, and things of that sort. So, if you're like me, and maybe you're not gonna uh, sit down and read a book because of your eyesight, or maybe you feel like you don't have time, you can invest in uh, listening to some of these audios, Think and Grow Rich, The Mindset of the Wealthy, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It's so many books out there that are free, that are on audio. And as you're in your car, as you're walking through the house, cleaning the house, as you're uh, going about your day to day, and you just have a few minutes of break time, you can put those audios on and allow that knowledge to infiltrate your mind. I tell you, it is absolute key, because I can do
Yeah.
all these wonderful things. I can get out of debt. I can change my spending habits. I can uh, uh, do so many wonderful things. I can write down my goals. I can have a great net worth, check my credit score, build my credit score up, all that good stuff. But if my mindset hasn't changed, it won't be a couple of years before I find myself right back here where I started, wondering
Hmm.
how in the heck did I get back here? And it's because the mindset has to change. And number one, in changing that mindset, you must become a reader. Whatever that looks like for you, you must become a reader. It is key, it is necessary. Another way you can
Hmm.
shift that mindset is to begin to watch shows. There are shows that talk about uh, debt and finances and how to get out of debt and things like that. And one of the shows that you introduced me to, Sheryka, was Until Debt Do Us Part. And it was a series
No, love it.
aired on YouTube, and I began to absorb and immerse myself into that, to look at all these people in their financial situations, and to see how this lady came in to help begin to change the direction of that, and the plans that she was creating and how she set that up. So, Till Debt Do Us Part, if you're one of those that are not interested in finances and you need a more entertaining way to look and immerse yourself into what that looks like, that is an awesome place to start. There on YouTube, it airs free. Everyone has access to YouTube if they have access to a phone, because YouTube is right there on our phone. And so it's a good place to start.
So true. So true. Yeah, I love that show. I usually watch it when I'm folding clothes, multitasking. So yeah, absolutely. We we're talking about creating your financial plan if you're just now joining us on the Money and Mindset podcast. Another important thing, and I sound like this broken record again, is you want to track your cash flow. And all that is, you want to track your income, you want to track your outgo. Your income, meaning, whatever payments you may get from your paycheck on the job. If you get money from alimony or child support, tax refunds, Social Security, retirement funds, whatever. Track your income, what you bring in, and your outgo or your outflow or your expenses, whatever you want to call it, the money that you're spending. So, whether it be money spent towards rent and mortgage, utilities, gifts, entertainment, hair, nails, you want to keep up with all of that, because that's key to finding out, if you find yourself running short each month, that's key to kind of find out, hey, if I'm spending $50 a week eating out, maybe if I cut out and only go, twice a week instead of 7 days a week, that might save me a little bit of money. So, I mean, that's just an example. But we don't know until we start tracking it. I tell you, our minds, they play games with us, because before I start tracking, now granted, I've been one of those people who never enjoyed actually like just shopping or anything like that, but I was not as intentional. So before I start tracking, it's kind of like, I don't really spend that much, on things that I don't need. Oh, but when I start tracking, I said, oh, you know what? I could cut
Stay out
back
them
here
convenience stores.
because we pay for
No, we
convenience.
ain't making no trip to, no, no, girl. Your convenience store, it'll get you. Do you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes. So,
it will.
and you guys are going to be my accountability partner. So, I use an Excel spreadsheet. I love Excel. I'm just an Excel geek. That's me. But for 2021 here, I am going to branch out and look for a more modern way to do my tracking. Now, I am going to keep my spreadsheets though, but I'll give you more information about that later to let you know what I choose and how that works. And I know you, Anntricia, I know you have a way that you track your spending, which you shared with us, your book that you started journaling, and you won't write down goals, but you will track your spending. So that is good.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And all I did was went and pick up the financial book from uh, the local dollar store, Dollar General. They have an awesome book that helps you track and write down goals there in that. And I'm going to be going to the store eventually in the coming days to pick me out another book for the upcoming year, 2021, because it's going to be necessary that I begin again. I begin again. The only thing that I think that has saved me so far, uh, even when I kind of dropped tracking so much, when I got lost in uh, the pandemic, so to
Mm,
speak, and
yeah,
and things like that, and I got off track. The only thing that has saved me and kept me grounded financially is my ability to stay disciplined and focused in my spending habits. So I wasn't going to the store and shopping and spending unnecessarily. I'm not stopping at the convenience stores to and from work and things like that. So it's those habits that I picked up that has helped keep me grounded. So even though I wasn't tracking on paper, I was still
mhm,
able to know what I had coming in and what I was spending out and where it was going. So, but yeah, I'll be looking for another one of those little financial books because it has been a lifesaver financially,
definitely.
initially in knowing what was coming in and what was going out and being able to make those financial gains. Uh, Another tip. Pay off one debt at a time. When you're creating your financial plan and putting plans together to combat your debt, pay off one at a time. And I would say start with the smallest one. And that's where I started. I started out with the smallest one in my financial planner that I purchased. That was one of the things that they had helped put in place in the beginning when I was assessing and evaluating my financial situation is paying off debts. What debts look like? What debts do I have? If it's a credit card, if it's a doctor bill, if it's a loan, whatever that looked like, I was able to list all of that, put the amount down, and work on one at a time. And many of us, we get trapped up in this because we have so many debts. We want to start working on all of them at the same time. It's hard to see the progress that you make when you do that. So when you just look at one at a time and applying extra money that you find that you have to that smallest debt, and then taking that money and adding it to that second smallest debt, and so on and so forth, you begin to develop not only new habits, but you begin to gain momentum as it
Mhm.
relates to your debts. And I have all my credit cards and things like that, the department stores and things like that that I had that was unnecessary. In 2020, I was able to continue to pay all that off. And even though this has been paid off for months into this year, I have not went back and reused it. I haven't
Awesome.
closed it. I haven't closed
Yeah,
the accounts,
don't do that.
but yet I have not used them, the cards either. It's because I have developed new habits. I've shifted my mindset, the way I spend and prioritize what's important and what's not. So even though I still have them, I'm not in debt to them because of the habits and the discipline and the focus that I've already been able to accomplish throughout my journey. So uh, that's something to think about. One debt at a time.
Yeah.
It feels good knowing that you have it. It feels good knowing that you have it. You have it there. If it's just something that you really had to have, and that you're building up your credit history because you have it. It looks good with your credit history and things like that. But knowing that you're not in debt to it, knowing that you're not in debt to it is a greater feeling. In fact, I paid that
Yes.
off, and that I'm still working and applying what I would be paying on that every month to a larger uh, debt. So yeah,
Yes. Yes. And let me just clarify, she doesn't mean just forget about all the other debts. Pay the minimum
pay
on
the
the
minimum.
other
Yeah,
debts,
pay the
but
minimum
you're just applying extra to the one that you're
one at a
focused
time.
on one at a time. She didn't mean, just to clarify. I want to say what
Yes, you're gonna
Anntricia
pay the full
said.
minimum. No, no, she didn't. Lies. No, she didn't.
Okay.
Pay your minimum. Pay your minimum on all your debt
On time.
on time, ahead of time if you can. But
Yes.
you definitely want to make sure it's on time. But the smallest one,
Hmm.
you take that little extra money after you've done your budgeting and seeing where your money's going, then you take that extra money to apply it on the smallest
Hmm.
debt until you get it paid off. And
Yes.
then you start working on those much larger debts. Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Very good.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good.
That's that's the snowball effect. Look it up.
Yes. Hmm.
Look it up. It works.
It
It
does.
works.
It
But
really
you
does.
must not neglect these other steps that we've told you, that we've shared with you in creating your financial plan. That's assessing and evaluating your spending habits, that's setting your goals, that's planting your money in good soil so it can reproduce for you. That is also tracking your spending, shifting your mindset, uh, tracking your income, and uh, pay off one debt at a time, guys. You're on the right track to creating a financial plan that works for you. Hey, if you have any other questions or concerns that you would like us to address here on the Money and Mindset podcast, leave us a email. Contact us at moneymindset at transformubroadcast.com. We'd love to hear your take on what you can do to create a financial plan that works for you. Until next time, I am your host, Anntricia Bray Smith.
And I am Sheryka Alford.